Hi guys, are you a serial houseplant killer? It might be your choice of houseplant that's to blame. While some plants are easy to maintain, some plants are a bit more difficult to keep alive. So today I'm talking about 10 super fussy houseplants I would consider calling them bad for beginners. For a vibrant indoor garden, stop bringing this plant into your home. This large leaf plant can give your home serious jungle vibes as long as you can mimic the growing condition of its first home, the tropical and subtropical rainforest, without warmer temperature, high humidity, and lots of filtered light. This plant has very special care requirement, otherwise these leaves go crispy and brown. They will also not do well if they get exposed to any hours of direct sunlight. This plant is sold as a very compact plant with thick lush growth, but as soon as you bring it home, it starts to become leggy, so the growers give this plant hormone that encourages plant stem to push out lots of leaves that are spaced very tightly, but leaves become more spaced out and the stem much leggier. The other problem with this plant is susceptibility to browning leaves. This usually happens when the leaves become too moist, so you have to be really careful when watering this plant not to get water on the leaves. This plant is my favorite houseplant and is another plant that is really difficult to look after. You might notice that our stems at the base of the plant are beginning to die back. This is a common issue with this plant. It sends out its long vines and it would naturally push out roots at each of the leaf nodes on the vine to attach itself to false floor. It can continue to grow and spread in a weed-like fashion in our homes. We allow this plant stem to trail over the pot, but this means the plant has not got anything to attach its roots, so when it gets long enough, it begins to die back at the base of the plant. This is unavoidable. The best thing to do here is propagate the plant or pin the stem to soil. Keeping this plant takes a lot of time and effort and probably not suitable for beginners. Many homeowners admire this plant for glossy, white-veined leaves, golden flower, and yellow bloom, but the showy houseplant requires specific growing conditions. I've heard many stories about how fussy this plant is. It needs high humidity and damp soil for them to be happy and not have crispy brown edge on the leaves. You will see this plant thriving in the garden center because the conditions are just right for it. This plant is really fussy. Firstly, they need bright light. If you keep it in a low lighted spot, it will start to turn all green in their variegation. It's also considered unstable, which means you never know what next leaf will look like. They are also quite fussy with regard to watering. Overwatering this plant will mean that the new plant will come out brown and die off due to rot. So if you want easy life plant, I will consider another type of philodendron that's a little bit more forgiving, such as Philodendron Brazil. It's another plant I tend to avoid purchasing because it's susceptible to browning and yellowing leaves due to lack of humidity and water in the soil. Happy banana plant needs to receive 12 hours of direct light daily and warm temperature, but not too hot, or else the leaf will scorch. This plant is great in the shop and the right environment with big green leaf, but as soon as we get it home, it normally starts to spoil unless we treat it just right. A stunning plant with beautiful colorful flower, but they are quite short lasting unless you are skilled enough to get them to bloom. You always see them in the garden center in full bloom bright color and they look stunning, but when you bring them home, they lose their flowers. I've always found it really hard to get orchid to rebloom. I think they have very specific requirement to get them to do this, so let me know in the comments if you had more success with this plant and what I need to do. The other plant on my list is quite upsetting for me and is green orange plant, close relative to spider plant. I fall in love with local orange stem with green leaves. I find this plant is a bit of street, so be careful. They look gorgeous in the shop. They have a stunning leaf that sucks so many people into buying them. This plant requires very specific conditions, high humidity and moist soil, so they need a lot of watering, which can be a real pain. Let me know in the comment if you have this plant that have not brown leaves, what you have done to keep it. Very beautiful flowering plant, but very super fussy and finicky. A super prone to root rot. Let me repeat that they love high humidity, but they hate to have wet leaves. If you want to stop buying unhealthy plant in the shop, then there are a few checks you should always make before buying a plant to make sure you don't bring home a plant with pests or other issue. In this video here, I will see you there. Thanks a lot for watching.